channels can bring in. If you're Pleiadian, though, it works a little bit best, right, in the heart. You're more like heart centered, right? So, so when you're relaxed, it's eager. Your soul's eager to explore. It's easier to kind of, Cayce counted down from like 10 to 1. I count down only from 5. And he used to say to me, with every descending number, you're going to feel yourself becoming more grounded into the spine, more grounded into your feet, more grounded into earth, right? And by the time you get to 1, you should be in a state of complete relaxation. And there shouldn't be too much in your mind, except that you just counted, right? If your mind starts to kind of jazz back up and distract you, you can become aware that your mind is doing what it's doing. There's nothing wrong with your mind trying to spark back up. It doesn't mean you're not in trance. It's okay. But you're in this state of relaxation at this point, and you can become aware of the sound of your own voice when you're speaking in here. So then you can start counting again. You can be aware of your thoughts, but just start counting again every time your mind tries to take you somewhere else. There should be nothing in your mind but the numbers, and just, it's sort of like a vibration. You know how I'm going 5, 4, 3. I can't go that low. 2, 1. By the time I say I am here now, it should feel like a little click. And this click should come in at the point that you typically are going to channel. If you're going to do this for yourself, if you're doing this for someone else, you want them to imagine that point. Okay. So there's a point on the body that opens their Akash. Where is it for you? Some people say it's the nadi points or the acupressure points. Some people feel like there's a space right behind their belly button that they just feel it kind of warm up. But you want to kind of like feel out your client if you're working with someone and designate a space. Try different spaces. It's always here for me, but occasionally some of the andromedas like to make it here, and it completely slows my roll. So you have to be aware when it changes as well, based upon different portions of the Akash that you might be working with. Yes, that's exactly it. You're lowering the pitch of your voice. You're grounding your voice, right? You're not going to say it out loud unless you're working with someone, right? But you're going to be saying this in your mind, and you're very comfortable with your own voice. So it's easy to go into your own Akash. But if you're helping someone else, you can actually say this out loud, right? And help them to kind of relax. It's easier to access someone else's Akash and work with them if they're out of the way and if they're not talking to you. I promise you, I'm not attempting to be rude, but there are a lot of times when clients come to me and I'm like, can you give me a moment? Don't tell me a thing except what you want to know or what the problem is. From there, we don't need you to talk. It's the same in QHHT and BQH and many processes where the more the client talks to you before their trance, the more of a problem you're going to have when you're trying to help them access their Akash. So if you start talking in your mind, you're trying to trance yourself, you just start counting again and do the whole thing over again, no matter how many times it takes. Because you're going to learn about your past, right? And it's going to come up, and we don't need like all the chores that you're doing, that you're thinking that you're not doing, and or that it's the things sometimes the head will say, well, this is not going to work or whatever, right? So you're going to let your mind at this point wander back in time. You're going to revisualize the synchronistic number or the symbol that you've been seeing in your waking hours or in your dream state. Or you're going to visualize, say, a certain land. People kind of feel connections with metaphors and symbols more than they do time frames. Cayce never told me that he actually used time frames to say, go back to this year or that year. He's never said that to me. But he will say this client lights up when they think about Egypt. He will say this when they think about going to Lake Tahoe. I have a friend of mine who lights up every time she thinks about going there. And I've always felt to ask her, well, have you thought about going there? Just visualizing the lake right there in your third eye. So how do you do that? For people that are non-visual, you just use your imagination. Clairvoyance is activated by being unafraid of your own imagination and by being unafraid that you are, you guys know what I'm going to say, making it up, right? So you're going to either use the most recent symbol, synchronicity, number, sign, phrase, or if you don't have one, you're just going to think about something that pulls you, right? So you're going to think about Egypt, or you're going to think about Lake Tahoe and the last time you went there, and the water was just beautiful and clear, and the winds were rushing through your hair, and you could smell the fall leaves and people burning leaves in their backyards, maybe, or maybe you can hear the sound of a distant boat. You want to become so imaginative, like the best part of the memory down to the smell, or maybe you guys grilled out that day and you remember the taste, of the food on the grill and the smell of it cooking, right? Okay. Yeah, you can use all this to induce people into trance for other reasons, but when you're thinking about hypnosis, really what you're doing, the soul is giving you that information, because when you're tapping into the soul, the higher self, the subconscious, what you call it, the Akash is what the soul's using, right? The soul is the access point. That's why you're so safely and comfortably able to do that. So you're going to let your mind just wander back to that memory and try to focus on it. And if your mind goes crazy, do the slower and lower technique, and then go back to that moment. Try to sense it, smell, taste. You could hear a dog barking that you remember. You could hear the sound of motorboats buzzing by, and or maybe you were on the pier and your feet were in the water and it was summertime and you remember the sun on your skin, and that you were worried about getting a sunburn and when to get up and put on your sunscreen again, or whatever it is that you remember most. Like I remember going back to, I was in love with Lake Jocassee in South Carolina. No matter where you were in that lake, you could see all the way down to the bottom. And I would just pick up a piece of driftwood and float on it because I was a little kid. I'd get out there and get burned as a lobster. I didn't even care. And I would just look down. I'd float around to the deepest part of the lake, just looking down and looking at the rocks. And occasionally a boat would buzz by and it would disturb me, and I would lose my driftwood and get angry and do the whole thing over again. But I just saw that fish and now you scared him away. I was going to see if I can go all the way 100 feet down there and get him. And I played that game. Could I catch the fish? Would it come to me? Would it talk to me? All this kind of stuff. And so I brought that into my memory, and it was just like I was there. And, when I went into the Akash with that, I could remember my uncle calling from the shore going, Pam, get back in here. You got to eat some point in time. You've been out there for 3 hours, So you'll remember all those little things. Now, I was annoyed that my grandmother was drunk, as usual, whatever the case was. But I just remember that, and I started getting deeper and deeper into the memory, right? And then it just slips from there to something else. It's like you're not there. You were there, and then suddenly you're at that same lake, maybe floating on that same piece of driftwood and doing the same thing, but maybe that's how you used to catch fish, right? Maybe you drowned in that lake, or maybe you saved someone. Who knows why you're still so deeply in love with that lake or that land or that place, right? So when you're detached like this, you'll notice the scene starts to change. So something Dolores taught me as well that Cayce validated, they began to work together and things got fun. So as the scenery is changing, perhaps the people on the land are the same people. Like it's still my uncle, but he's like my brother in a Native American tribe. This is how my scene changed. And it was just like, what it looked like was, what are these things that people are doing these days? I'm so behind the times. I mean, I just now got a TikTok, but they do these things where, time lapse. Is that it? Where things kind of go and it tells you how the baby grew up and like every little day, and they do it all out their first year. And you could see the baby's face just changing from infant to toddler and toddler to older toddler and older toddler to preschooler and preschooler to first grader and all this kind of stuff. And you can see like the whole shift of that child's life. So it's like that. That's the best way I can describe it. You'll be able to see it clearly in your imagination with a feeling of safety and security and a little bit of, I might be making this up, but you need to avoid that. All right. Relax into your imagination and let yourself feel totally intrigued and interested. And with your imagination, you will find yourself, exactly where you should be in your records without even saying, oh, now I'm in the most direct, most relevant record. And the mind says, are you sure that's the right one? We don't need any of this in this process. Okay. Just totally relaxed and observing. So then I want you to imagine your just best moment there and that time, wherever you are. Just say, bring me to my best moment there. If you start saying, bring me to the highest potential, bring me to the most relevant record, it kind of gets a little wordy and then you could easily untrance. Okay, so take a deep breath, feel comfortable. And in your imagination, I want you to say, if you have chosen Egypt, to stand before a great pyramid. Maybe it was the Great Pyramid of Giza. And maybe it's Luxor, wherever you are. And then slowly imagine that magnificent structure just coming into your focus, towering before you. Imagine the awe that you feel from being there, right? And then with greater and greater clarity, that great pyramid will be before you. Just kind of, it's like you're there looking at it. And it's there as well, soaring over the desert plains, and you realize how big it is and how small you feel, and all that pyramid in all its glory, as if it appeared for the very first time that you saw it this long ago in your past. You'll feel it like you're seeing it for the first time. So if you chose a great pyramid, I want you to mentally look down at your feet. And this is a process that we do in the Akash. We look down at our feet to sort of like gain our ground, look at the earth, look at your feet once you're there. Notice what you're wearing. Are your feet bare? Without analyzing, just look at your feet and mentally record what you sense and what you feel. The feet is a really good, safe grounding point for going into the Akash this deeply, because you're not thinking about, is someone about to kill me, or am I about to die, or is it something bad going to happen? Just notice where your feet are on the ground. So one of the first things you do, you'll ask yourself several questions. You'll just start to talk to yourself. You'll just notice that you want to ask yourself things. It'll just come up for you. And you'll be like, well, what does it feel like to be who I am? That's one of the questions he taught me to ask. What does it feel like to be who you are right now? As opposed to, what is your name? Where are you from? When did you die? And when were you born? We're not there yet. We're just getting comfortable, noticing our feet. And then we just ask, what does it feel like to be who you are right now? Standing before this incredible pyramid in Egypt. What is it like to be you? Right? So you might wish to say that to yourself internally and quietly, or if you're working with a client, ask that to your client and give pause, for your higher self to respond. And notice that unless you're telepathic, it's not going to be giving you words. They come mostly, claircognition is a highly underrated way that the subconscious talks to you. So many people are expecting the subconscious to say something, but generally it's just describing what it's like, because think about it. Naturally speaking, you're not going to be like, well, it feels good to be Pamela. And you're not going to start talking in a third person situation right then, right? Because that's not how you are right now either. So you're going to look at the ground, look at your feet. Well, what does the ground look like? Do you see grass? Do you see soil? Is it desert sand? Pause and wait for that. This is how you get in touch with your surroundings. Okay. And then I want you to look slowly at your body. Slowly. Notice we didn't just go for a look at my own face. Like, we can't turn our eyes back around, but you're just going to look at your body just like you would if you're standing here. And notice what you're wearing would be the next thing you do. Feel the texture. Do the clothes feel familiar? Is it an unusual fabric? Is it a rough fabric? Is it a smooth fabric? Get just very interested in what you're wearing, right? What colors do you have on? Look over your entire body. Take into your mind the clothes that you're wearing, all right? And just, how does it feel? Is it warm? Is it too cold? Do you like it? Are you comfortable? Are you a grown-up? Are you a child? What does your body look like? And are you comfortable in it? Are you male? Are you female? Do you have on any jewelry? Is there anything on your head? Anything you're holding in your hands? So you're going to be focusing on whatever appears to be in the clearest, sharpest focus for you. And you're just going to take a mental note of that. Okay? So, no, Melanie, it should be that you're in a past life. We're exploring, say it was Egypt, what that would be like. What are you doing? Or what are you about to do? Right? And something's just going to pop in your head. It's like, for some reason, I feel like I need to go tend to my crop right now. I feel like I was just about to do that. And this is how you know your subconscious is talking. Yeah, I think I need to go tend to my crop right now. Right? So now in your mind's eye, you're going to just look around the entire, plateau of the surroundings of your pyramid. You're going to look around at the scenery. Notice, is the sun shining or is it raining? Probably isn't raining, right? But who knows? Might be. The sun feels warm on your skin. Are you sweating? Are you hot? What's the mood of the place? Everywhere we visit has a bit of an atmosphere. And you're going to take a mental note of how you feel about that. Are there trees? Are there stretches and stretches of sand? Are there people riding camels around? Are there other buildings, other structures? Maybe you can see the Sphinx where you are. Who knows? Just make a mental note of some of your deepest feelings and how your body feels and some of your thoughts about your surroundings so that you can recall these things later, because you're going to practice going back to this same portion of your lifetime and just practice getting deeper and deeper into using your senses to access your Akash. Now you're going to start to ask some deeper questions. What does it feel to be alive during these days in Egypt? What does it feel like to be alive right now in this time, this glorious period of time in Egypt? Okay. Are there people around? Are there bushes? Are there animals? If you feel like you have difficulty seeing things and you're worried you're not clairvoyant, remember, this is just an imagination practice. This is why he called it reverie. Waiting on that jet. We never have jets. Do you hear it? We never have jets. Do we ever have jets? No. Middle of nowhere, we got a jet. Wait. And then we imagined a jet rolling by. No, that's this time. Maybe something came in the sky, but it was not a jet. I kind of think I'm tapping into my own Akash, and it was not a jet. So if you are not clairvoyant and you have difficulty tapping in this way, remember, you're just imagining things. Okay? This is just your imagination. All right? You're just playing around with reverie. So just try to simply hear or feel the place or imagine what it might be like. And let those memories come forward as a present image whenever they do. Don't try to force it. All right? So if this is your opportunity to experience this Egypt of your past, for whatever that looks like, we don't want to ruin it by coming in immediately asking, what year is this? We're a long way off from this in this exercise. And it's time to think of things once thought of, things once felt, things once heard from your own past. And you're going to listen to the sounds of the place and just take a mental note of what you hear, what you smell, all of the things in your surrounding, just like you're, like you would if you're a tourist, but you're not. You're here, and it's now, and you've been here before, and you've been here before, right? That sort of feeling of deja vu starts to really take over at this point in reverie. So now you may look around for other people. You may look to sort of see, do you want to walk into town where you are around people? Maybe we want to take a little stroll and see the nearest town, right? And then you want to kind of take note of if there are people around. Who are they? Do you know them, or are they strangers? What do they look like? You'll notice that you kind of just walk into places and you don't know why, but your soul does. So then you can start saying, well, what's this place? Why do I want to go here? Hold on. Oh, yeah. I think it's because, like, play around. Don't be so caught up on your subconscious coming in and saying, it's because blah, blah, blah. And now this is going to happen, and this already happened, and that will just pop you right out of trance. But you want to play around with this as if you're wondering. It's like, perhaps I'm here to meet someone special. Perhaps I have a close bond with them. Perhaps I know them. I feel like I might know them. You want to kind of talk to yourself in this way, because when you use wonder to tap into the Akash in reverie, someone who has great meaning to you, you're not going to know their name right away or what that meaning is right away. So you're going to take note of your feelings. And if you listen very quietly, and if you wonder, you may even begin to start to notice them saying, what are you doing? And then they call you up by name. And then you say, oh, I'm not doing anything, Josiah. And then you call them by their name. Notice you didn't show up for harvest today. You may notice that certain things just start happening, and you will be past that feeling like you're making it up at that point. If you listen real closely, you might hear the name of a child. Maybe it's someone's calling out to you. What do they say? How do they call you? What language and vernacular are they using? You may wish to remember, are you sitting down to eat? What is the food like? Right? Can you remember a time when you were eating? These are questions that you can ask. And then you'll notice the scenery begins to change, just like I changed you from the lake to Egypt. The scenery starts to change. It's the same people, but they're slightly different. Maybe they have new names. You don't know. It could bring you to a whole new record, right? So we're just going to keep going. All right. And then we're going to, as it changes on to another episode, when you notice that it's changing, you're going to count backward from 3 again. And when you reach 1, you'll find yourself in a scene, a different portion of that same life, or maybe somewhere else. If your higher self said go somewhere else, like this isn't like a real, okay, if you go backwards from 3, at that point, you're definitely going to be there when you're a child. You don't know that, but sometimes you will be, or sometimes it'll completely switch records, right? So that's going to be slower and lower again from 3, 2, 1. I am here now. That's something you say every time that he taught me, right? Maybe you're back as a child as an Egyptian. So you start to notice, do I see myself? Oh, I'm playing. What am I playing with? Am I getting into trouble again? Am I laying on the ground? Am I sitting in the lap of someone I love? Look around where you are. What's going on? Look at what you're wearing. You'll notice maybe some people are talking and you may or may not understand them. Maybe they call your name and they're like, hello, baby Josiah. It's got to be somebody's name. I feel like I'm picking up on somebody here. So, and now you just keep doing that. You may say, okay, I remember that. And then you're going to let yourself go on to another period of your life, an important event when you're older. You're going to play around with time. That point in time, you're going to get curious. I wonder what it was like when I was a teenager, and then do 3, 2, 1 again. I am here now. And then focus on what's happening. Take a mental note and incorporate all of your senses. Are people talking? What are they saying? Are you talking? What are you saying? Are you eating? Okay, there's trauma. You're going to observe that just like you're observing what you're eating. Seriously, you have to observe if trauma comes in a way that you know that you're just observing it. Right? So you're going to listen to the sounds. What are you feeling? Take it all in. Now, at this point, after you've gone through at least 2 records, at least 2, by the time you get to the 3rd one, I want you to try to imagine what your purpose was in Egypt in this time. What is my purpose in this time? Is anything left incomplete? These are 2 questions. Write that down. What is my purpose in this time? Why am I here? And ask any of those 2 things. What is my purpose in this time, or why am I here in this time? Is there anything left incomplete? Right? When you say that, I want you to go ahead and count again, except this time you're not counting up or down. You're just counting 1. 1, not up or down, no slower or lower. 1, 1, 1. I am here now. So count 1 3 times. Same pitch, not slower, not lower. Just your own vocal pitch that you're comfortable with. Okay. Now I want you to look at your life in Egypt all at once, and you'll start to see a lot of things. Your life events start to kind of tie together, and you'll see, the best way I can describe it is you'll see it like a collage. I used to be into scrapbooking. I know I'm really showing my age in this class, but Edgar Cayce always taught me that the records at this point look a little bit like scrapbooking when you're doing your collage, or back when people used to do the collage on Instagram, youngsters. Same thing when you used to get those little things that make collages for Instagram. It's similar to that, all right? And you'll see little pictures of your life kind of all together on the same page. Okay? Now, imagine all the events of your current life right now, in this century, and now you're going to see the 2 pages side by side. Move them together like slides right here together, side by side. The one you're living now, right here, and the one from Egypt. Bring them together. Okay? Do you see any similarities? Do you see any patterns repeated? Do you see any people that you know now that you knew then? Are you starting to be like, oh yeah, that person, my uncle, that I used to go to the lake with, looks exactly like a priest that I used to work with in the temple. Look at that. I wonder if they're the same. I wonder what I'm learning from them. You're starting to look at the similarities and the patterns that connects these lives together. This is when you access the point of the records that we call the concordant records, the records of the now. You pull your past and you look at it side by side. Okay? And now I want you to take a final look at your surroundings from long ago in the Egyptian record or whatever it was you pulled up. Look into the eyes of the people that you've seen. And I want you to just let love flow. If there's pain, let forgiveness flow. But in general, let love flow from yourself into every being from that time long ago. Okay? And as you send them love, bless them, forgive them, bless them. Let them and your Egyptian surroundings begin to fade. And it will feel like that. It'll feel like they're just fading away and you can hardly see the record anymore. It's getting foggy. It looks a little bit like right here, my hand is here, but now it's back, and now it's back, and it's getting foggier and going away, and now it's out of the picture, right? A little bit like that. And as those memories fade and people fade, let them go, release them, forgive anything that needs to be forgiven. This might be a really good time to say, I'm sorry, forgive me, thank you, I love you. Many of you are familiar with that. That's from the Ho'oponopono. So that only love remains. We want to go ahead and do that as it's fading away. And then there's only objective memories. They're there, but they don't hold a painful charge. And as you slowly begin coming back, traveling back through time, you can bring with you all that was actually positive and bright, interesting, important, right? Other information you may release or forget, but bring back something holy. He always told me that, bring back something holy. So as I'm going back, I'll feel myself coming back to my body and all those memories fading, right? And as I'm coming back, I'm going to go ahead and count myself back in. And this time we're going to go low to high. So lower pitch starting at 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I am here now in the body of Pamela. And we want to say that I am here now in the body of, and then list the name of yourself or the clan, right? This brings you back. Remember bringing back something holy. Keep telling that I want to bring back something holy. We don't know what it is. Okay, maybe you do, or maybe you don't, but just say that, okay? Some sort of, maybe it's just a gem of wisdom. Maybe it's just one thing. I'm bringing back like the eyes of a baby Egyptian boy named Josiah. I don't know who that's for today. I don't know which one of you that is, but it's not me. Somebody's actually doing this with me. That's awesome. So you're going to retain in your conscious mind only that which is helpful, important, and beneficial. Okay. And you're going to tell yourself that I'm remembering only that which is helpful, important, and beneficial. Dolores likes the word relevant instead of beneficial, relevant, because it's more neutral. So now you're going to begin to return to the current level of your mind, bring back anything that you think is going to help you understand who you are right now, in this time, in this place. Come back to the years in this life. Feel, a grounded energy go back to your feet. Plant your feet right here in this body. Your subconscious mind always protects you, and you will have brought back something that when you say the word holy, you're going to get something from that. When you wake up, you're going to say, I need to forgive Uncle so-and-so, right? Right? So 1 to 5 on the way back. And when you reach 5, remember, lower to higher in this case, in the pitch of your voice, you're going to open your eyes. And after you say, I am here now, you'll feel refreshed. You shouldn't feel tired, right? You should be feeling great, clear-headed, fine. Go drink some water, okay? Good. And there are things to do if you don't feel that way. Like you can begin to count 1 to 5, and you can add something after the number, like 1, coming back to my body very slowly, safely. 2, feeling refreshed, wondering what holy thing I can bring back. 3, feeling revitalized, excited. 4, feeling fully reoriented into the present time in my body. There are things you can say after that when you're doing inductions to bring a person back. And 5, I'm opening my eyes. I feel wide awake and perfectly normal, or whatever it is, right? You may wish to keep a tape recorder when you practice reverie, but this is a very deep trance practice that you can practice for yourself or for anyone else, okay? So remember, Akashic Records, according to Cayce, are an indicator of the present. That's why he worked with both the Akash and the concordant records. And I wrote this down because it's relevant, but from record 256. I'm going to read exactly what it says there about the Akash. And he saved all of his writings this is from reading number 256-5. And it says, yes, we have the entity, the soul mind. They mean you when they say entity, and the mental and material mind of the entity known as, and he puts in, say, Pamela or whoever, with the experiences of the soul in the earthly sojourns, with the developments and the environments in the present, and that which has been builded by the entity as to what the entity has done, respecting that which has builded into what is now present into the earth. Told you he has a weird vernacular, right? So in this way, what he means is, imagine a morning when you woke up where you're kind of presented with a computer-generated list of each person, task, experience, which would be most beneficial to you as you encounter a part of that day. So what if each of those experiences had been selected by an omniscient database, a clear, omnipresent, omniscient, database, which had your best interest at heart. That's why we do this. So, according to Cayce, the reason why we tap into the Akash is because they're providing us with the experiences and relationships that we need at the present time, not just because we want to look back at the past and we thought it was cool to be a king because we're angry that we're poor now. But we were a king and we've experienced wealth, and now we want to go experience something else. Why? Why would we do that to ourselves? Where the Akash is going to know, right? Let's see. I think we already have questions, so I'll stop for a bit before I move on, since we have questions. Yeah, everything that Cayce did for himself was a past life regression, and you can do that for others as well, right? First question: can you